What's up, everybody? This is a special episode of the Pitside podcast, a little shorter than normal. We'll call this episode, I guess, 30 and a half. This wasn't a planned episode, but with some of the stuff we've got coming up with Autism Acceptance Week, running this Wednesday for our Hometown Heroes division, we've got a special guest here for you. So we're going to get started here in just a second.
Welcome to the Pitside Podcast, where we discuss the latest news and developments in the G-Force Racing League, as well as other racing news inside and out of iRacing. Now here's your hosts, the A-Lit Outlaw, Preston Cranmer, and Roger, the Bassman Craig.
Yeah, so we're back, and I guess I should probably introduce our special guest. This, on the bottom of your screen here, is my wife, PennyLee. If you ever talk to me, you'll probably hear me call her PL. But we, with it being Autism Awareness Week and her profession, we figured it'd be an appropriate time to bring her on, and so she's agreed. And I'm gonna let Roger interview her, so we don't end up fussing with one another. And I'll let Roger take over a little bit.
So first of all, I want to say hi to PennyLee because it's the first time we've actually met, other than Facebook likes and all that sort of stuff. So. It's good to see the better half of the Cranmer family. So I got to admit, PennyLee, that and to everybody out there, we did when we were setting up Hometown Heroes. I was just we had that idea of having different nights and stuff and causes, and when Preston and I interviewed one of our announcers, Scotty DeYoung, who is involved with autism and has a fundraiser for it. And that was really what spurred it. We had another one with mental health awareness because Adam Ross is involved and we're kind of associated with him. So it was kind of, okay, here's some people associated with it, but I have to plead ignorance. I really don't understand autism enough. I have my idea, I think like a lot of people out there. And so what we did, it was originally going to be towards the end of the season. And then we realized, or it came out that it was Autism Awareness Month. So we thought we would move it up and tie in with that. And kind of wondering, I don't know much about it, and what can we do? And then all of a sudden, Preston was talking to PennyLee, and she's passionate about this. She said, well, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about your background and why you have this passion for it. So really fortunate to have PennyLee on.
So I am a early childhood special education teacher here in our local school division, which means I work with all children ages 3, 4, and 5 who have a variety of disabilities, but I have had, this is my 7th year teaching, and I have every year I've had someone already diagnosed with autism. So autism really is a broad spectrum of things. It's characterized by social skills, repetitive behavior, speech delays. They might be nonverbal, but those are the basic characteristics of autism. You might also hear people call it ASD. That's the abbreviation for autism because it's a autism spectrum disorder. So there's a lot of things that go under the umbrella of autism. So it's kind of been a passion that I've taken on in the last 7 years. It's a very exciting and unknown area that there's not a lot of answers to, and every child is different. So you can't, just because you had someone last year with autism doesn't mean the same ideas or skills or anything that you use is going to work for the next child. So it's always a new case.
Yeah, and I think that was what, I always thought autism was like that repetitive thing or the rocking. And then, as I started to read up on it, I thought I have a responsibility here to find out what it is. You realize it's just so much more. And the significance of the puzzle pieces, where it is one big puzzle, there's different aspects of it. We're talking about all the different aspects of autism, Asperger's being one of them. But maybe you could go over, you touched on it briefly, but some of the various, the various puzzle pieces that you have seen in your experience.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, I've had probably at least one child per each school year. Um, Doctors won't diagnose a child with autism until at least two, and that's like the bare minimum because that's when the signs go from it's just something developmental, like not talking. I mean, not many kids under two are really talking, so you have to wait until that little threshold is over to determine is it just because they're too young or is there something else going on. So, like the nonverbal, often children are very picky about sensory things. So, it could be food that they eat, they smell, light, loud noises. So you might often see children wearing headphones. They're not for music necessarily. They're just like noise canceling headphones to keep things from being too loud for them. So any sensory stuff, you might have children who love to get messy and sticky and explore glue, and then you have other kids who will freak out at the sight of glue or Play-Doh or anything sticky or messy. So that's why it's such a puzzle piece, because just because they have autism, which we say Asperger's as the high functioning, doctors don't really say Asperger's anymore. It's definitely a term we use just, out in public to say, he's high functioning, he's like smart and talking, but he still has some of the characteristics of autism. So I have had probably one child that you would consider high functioning, or they don't call it Asperger's anymore, but very smart, like knows other languages, memorizes things like periodic table, like at 4 years old, just
Yep.
knowing very well advanced skills for their age.
And that's, so I guess that's the one exposure I had. A nephew that was like that. He was just like brilliant in some sections, and then other times he'd be over in the corner rocking, just rocking.
Right.
But I guess the other important thing is, we wanted to talk about the awareness, but I think you had come up with, to Preston about it's really about acceptance. So we talked about this briefly before we went on air here, but.
And before we get into that, I found this out this past week when I was reminding drivers during a drivers meeting that this upcoming week was Autism Awareness Week. And my phone dinged a few seconds later. This is just after I'd asked PennyLee about possibly coming on the broadcast and the podcast. And I got a text. I should probably tell you that it's called autism acceptance and not awareness. So I was quickly corrected.
Well, I did some Google searches on that because of it, and I was coming up with Autism Awareness Month. But I think, like I was saying to PennyLee earlier, in order to accept, you need to be aware of what you're accepting, and so I think there's two parts to that. Is that awareness of, okay, what is it? But the other more important part is that once you're aware of accepting, these various people with the different issues, that just accepting them in society. I watched a couple of videos, and I think one we're going to play during Hometown Heroes. It was really good. It was from someone with autism, and it was just saying, like, we may not react the same way you react with emotions, but it doesn't mean, we're not ignorant, and we're not, being rude. And I think those are the things that awareness and accepting that. People with these issues, that they are different, and the other part was there's not like a cure. You're not going to fix it. This is the way they are, and we need to accept who they are. And I think too, just to talk about numbers, I think it was like 1 in 100 children have autism. Is that?
So I have 1 in 68 children, and then that boys are 5 times more likely than girls to be diagnosed with autism. So it shows more in boys than girls. And 1 in 68 is what I have researched. I mean, it's definitely, not uncommon, but there's definitely that gap of it's not as common. But
no, but when you take that 1 in 68, and I know some of the stuff I was reading on, which means, I think they figure like 1 out of every 2 people knows someone, a family member or something. So it touches all of us, and I'm sure a lot of the people out there watching, can relate to someone that they know, and are dealing with this. And um, I guess it's us that are dealing with it. We need to learn to accept it and understand it, and help these people, adjust to society as we consider it, because their views of, like, the noises and distractions are, they're different from others. And the other one too, I just want to mention, you were talking about the touch of brilliance. They say now, if you're Einstein and Mozart, like, there's a lot, they had a form of autism back in, in the day. So um, there are, for sure, there's, the whole brilliant side of this thing, and the amazing, it is amazing,
Right.
really.
And that's the ones that have definitely stood out in history, definitely, because autism wasn't really a word until the 1980s. So even grandparent age people, you might notice they had some differences about them that just, it wasn't a word back then. And it's definitely known as like a kid disability, but it's not something that can be cured and go away. It's just something that, with early enough interventions, can be helped to manage and maintain and provide resources and um, ways for people with autism to deal with what they have to deal with to live in everyday life.
So, and I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but so, what are some of the things, that we can do to help these kids, or adults, like teens, or whatever age they are?
So I know, just out in public, I know enough parents have come to me just asking how to deal with taking their child with autism just to, like, the grocery store and stuff, because they get looks and get stared at, which, I know it's very hard for us to do because you might not know it. Even when I know about it and I am a mother, just to, see someone's child acting out at a grocery store or something, you definitely look, but just to, put it in the back of your mind that you don't know what they're going through or why that child's acting that way. It could be just a misbehaved child, but it could be something else more severe than just the fact that they're a misbehaved child. It could be other factors that go into why they're acting that way at a restaurant or a grocery store. And I know many parents just, they give up and they just don't go to those places anymore. So you have families that are isolated because they don't feel like they can go to the restaurant like everyone else, just because they are afraid of how their child might act out in public. So just being aware and change your mindset as to why someone's child might be acting that way versus they're a bad parent or something.
Yeah, those are good points. And I'm thinking, like, my awareness has opened up this week, just setting this up, and I'm sure that there's other drivers that are going to be watching this that I think too will make them more aware and understanding of the issues around this. And Preston, did you have anything that you wanted to add, or?
No, no. I just think I know, and we'll probably talk about this. I think PennyLee's planning to be on the broadcast Wednesday in a much more brief sense, and so we'll share some of this out. But PennyLee, I know there were a couple of organizations that you'd found both in the United States and Canada. But just again, something that's always stuck with me, because obviously I get exposed to these kind of things a little bit more than maybe the average person does. It is exactly what PennyLee said. There are probably lots of people that you knew in your past or that you're around now that are a little bit older, and a lot of times people would just call them quirky. And I think that's something to keep in mind, is that they may actually have something that they're dealing with, and it's not just. You have to give people grace. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, and just being aware that, years ago this was a thing. Autism has been around a long time, but they may not, they may not know, they may not have ever been diagnosed. And I know there's people my age that are like that. In fact, there's people I know that I've worked with, and looking back on it, it was probably something they were dealing with. And I look back on it and I realized that I probably should have been a little bit more patient with that person, even though they didn't have a diagnosis. And I think that's the thing, is that's where the acceptance part of this comes from, is that we're all people that have things that we struggle with, and we need to be in it together. And I think that's kind of what I draw out of all of this.
Yeah. Did you want to mention those organizations, PennyLee?
Sure. So the one I found for the United States, which I think they are more global than just the United States, but is the Organization for Autism Research, or you might see OAR. And they've been around since December of 2001, and they are led by parents and grandparents of children, or their caregivers of people who have autism. So they just use what they have been through to help others, help other parents, caregivers, teachers with ideas, employment, ways to deal with behavior, when they grow older, ways for them to be involved in the community, social skills. So that organization is OAR, and you can see their website on researchautism.org. And then the other one I looked really hard into this week, because I've never had to look into for Canada, but it popped up when I was looking, and it's Autism Canada. And autismcanada.org is their website, and they are actually a combination of two larger organizations in Canada that merged to create Autism Canada. They both had great ideas, and so they just came together to use both of their ideas as one greater idea to help. And they're just like the OAR organization. They are there to help families and caregivers just with anything they would need to help whoever they're providing services to that may have autism. So the growing older, the community involvement, the social skills, dealing with behaviors, they're just a great support for anyone who may need the support to help someone with autism.
That's awesome. And we should point out, too, that Preston has provided a couple of car wraps for this week to celebrate this. One is in trading paints. We did a couple of posts on Facebook, so if you're watching this, I'm sure you're aware of where they are. But there's a trading paints, which will just give you a generic one, or if you wanted to add your own logos and stuff, there's also a link to a TGA file that people could add their own logos, as long as they maintain the whole autism theme on the car. So that's the one thing. And then while we've got Penny here, we'll change gears a little bit. In 3 weeks, we've got a big event come up, Ladies' Night, and it seems to be getting a little bit of wheels to it here, and people are getting interested. And we're going to have the ladies come out, and now we were leaning towards the street stock, but there's been some testing done, and I know Preston, he won't tell you this, PennyLee, but he sent me notes. PennyLee did some testing last night, and he was totally impressed with how you handled the 305 sprint car. So he was bragging pretty good about you. So putting some pressure on you for that night. So how do you feel about all getting in the rig and taking over on hubby?
I mean, it was definitely something I had not really done before. I had practiced a few laps maybe a year or so ago, and I was not good at all. And so just getting in it this time, and I don't know what was different, but I was able to handle it a little better, and I'm pretty excited to do the race since he asked me to. That's
awesome. So the one question I have to ask you, though, is were you running better on your own or when Preston was coaching you?
Probably on my own, because I didn't know what mistakes I was making, so I just kept on driving. Run into the wall, keep on going.
It happens to me too that I thought I'm doing pretty good until Preston starts coaching me.
Wait a minute,
doing all these things wrong. So. No, it's so we're really looking forward to that as well. But really, the more this sort of week has come upon us, the more excited I've gotten and felt a responsibility to learn more. And a lot of that is because of you, PennyLee, and it was good to have somebody that was knowledgeable with some background experience with this. to come on. So I want to thank you for doing that, getting maybe out of your comfort zone here. And, it's Eli's having a nap now, so we're time limited how long we can do this. But any other final thoughts that you have before we get out of here?
I mean, knowledge is power, and so the more people do their research, it's really not hard to, learn a little bit through, some internet searches, but, just being able to learn more about children with autism or adults with autism, it makes you a better person and more kind, just to know that there's others with differences that you just have to learn about and be more accepting of.
Well, again, just want to thank you a million for coming on today. And Preston, do you have any final words for your wife?
No, I'd say the same thing. I was glad to see you were interested in coming on. I was kind of surprised when you agreed, but Roger and I appreciate it, and I'll see you when I get out to the living room.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We're really looking forward to the race Wednesday. So make sure you go check out that wrap. You can add whatever sponsors you like Roger said. Just kind of leave the stuff that's already there intact, and I think we're going to have a really good turnout. I am personally really looking forward to the Ladies' Night race. It sounds like my mom is going to participate, so there's going to be a little extra intrigue, I think, between the whole daughter-in-law, mother-in-law battle, which should be really entertaining. Maybe not so nice after the fact for me and my dad, but we'll just have to see how that goes.
I think we need some video cameras getting the,
Yeah, I've been working on that too. We'll have a live feed of PennyLee. I haven't figured out where we're going to post that yet, but we'll be streaming that, and if we can include it in the broadcast somehow, we definitely will. But if not, we'll stream it to our team page and stuff, so you guys can check that out after the fact.
Now, this sounds like a pretty fierce competition, because the rumor I heard was your mom got involved after she heard PennyLee was in there, and she wants to beat her. So are they on the same team, or are they opposing teams? Are you going to provide a paint to your mother?
Well, I will. I think the way we'll probably do this is that PennyLee will be at least one of the representatives. I haven't talked to the rest of the guys yet from Christ Sim Racing, and then Mom will represent Coast to Coast.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say retreads, but I better not say that. That would be very, very
no.
bad.
She's not quite there yet, actually, so she wouldn't qualify.
Not that I was even suggesting that,
Yeah. You hear that, Mom? Roger called you old. So
I did not.
Old.
Your dad's old.
On that terrible note, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you back here next week.